never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
There may be families that are not supportive to the student's gender identity or transition, and we as schools, we don't out students.
A lot of textbooks, a lot of existing teaching will say, well, women produce eggs, males are more likely to be colorblind, the mother carries the fetus for this many months. And some ways that we can show our support for trans and non-binary students are just to clean up that language, be more precise. We can be more accurate and be more inclusive. So I would say, no, it's not women that produce eggs, it's ovaries that produce eggs. That's accurate, that's precise. We're acknowledging that not all women produce eggs, and also not all egg producers are women, for example. And we're teaching students that language matters. We're not just talking about imaginary people and living things, that our language impinges on the people in our classroom and in our community. To wrap up, in inclusive practices, we're learning about students and their identities. We're being serious about inclusive language and demanding that from our students. And we're teaching in any content area that diversity is a positive thing.
I'd like to pass it to Rae Garrison. Tell me a little bit more, you understand, I think we understand the role school administrators have and play in setting standards and ensuring, school staff kind of adhere to those standards. How can principals and other administrators be, vocal, visible, and effective in supporting transgender and non-binary students?
Hi, Christian. Thank you for the opportunity to share. And just by way of introduction, my name is Rae Garrison. I'm a middle school principal in West Jordan. I'm also a co-facilitator for the LGBTQ plus school leaders network with the National Association for Secondary School Principals. So I'm part of I head up a group of administrators who identify as LGBTQ plus. So kind of a unique group of educators there and school leaders. We've been discussing these issues for years. But first and foremost, to your point, I think we can all agree that the principal's primary responsibility as the head of the school is to create and sustain an environment where every student feels safe. Now, I've been in education 23 years now, 18 years as an administrator, and things have changed for the positive. But however, with our climate and things going on, I believe our transgender and non-binary students need the genuine care and protection from their school principals specifically, now more than ever before. Part of feeling safe at school is being known by the adults, including the school principal. You as a school principal can have a great impact on the level a student feels accepted and valued, cared for, and encouraged. So I would ask the school leaders who are part of this training, are you familiar with and are you looking out for your transgender and non-binary students? Because traditionally, this is a group of students who have been marginalized. I remember years ago meeting with a student who was transitioning and had told me they don't go to the bathroom at school. Well, that's unacceptable. Now, this is some years ago, things have changed. I'm sitting in a new school building where, you better believe that I was asking about gender neutral bathrooms going into this new building. And we were able to make that happen. So school leaders need to ask the hard questions about policy If you're not asking as the school leader, you're not advocating for the safety of your students. So you need to be proactive. So instead of just waiting and oh, I have a student who's not using the bathroom. What is the policy? How is your school or district handling student privacy, official records, names and pronouns? Are there gender segregated activities at your school? And why would that be? What's the restroom accessibility like? Your locker rooms, your phys ed classes, your intramural sports, school activities and programs, dress code. Dress code is something that has evolved and has positive changes have been made. Our school district went through a big revamping of the dress code, and I was highly impressed with the committee and what they were able to come up with in being inclusive for our transgender and non-binary students in that dress code revision. I would also say that communication is key as a school leader. Again, going back to talk to your students. You can survey all you want, do school climate surveys, but unless you talk to your students, that's really what makes a difference, is that personal connection, that relationship. Gather as much information as you can from the student, of course, without making them feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you can ask a school counselor or psychologist or your social workers to check in with the student, and have the conversation about their preferred name or pronouns, and aid them in coming up with a transition plan. Do that collaboratively with the student and their caregivers and their teachers. Some students are very public with their identity, while others want to maintain privacy. So it's important to note that there may be families that are not supportive to the student's gender identity or transition. And we as schools, we don't out students. That's very important to protect the student's privacy.